A very warm welcome to the students of class 8. From now onwards, after the vacation, you would be seeing me making the videos for class 8, and today we are going to start with the very first video after the vacations, and that is going to be based on the chapter from your grammatry book, chapter 7, modals. Alright, so that is how we pronounce it, modals, and you might hear people also pronouncing it as modals, but modals is what we will definitely focus on that. Okay. Now, previously you have already done verbs. Okay, we have completed the chapter verbs. Now this chapter modals, I think the children whom I have taught in class 7, we have already I had already told you that there are modal verbs, there is a concept called modals, and you're going to learn about it in class 8 and later classes, which will okay, so I had said about that previously. Alright, so this is the time where we are going to do modals, and this will help you, to understand this concept, you're going to have to apply a previously learned concept of that of verbs. Okay, so I had already told you in your previous classes, and you already know, not only me, the teachers have also told you, you've learned that there are two kinds of verbs. Okay, one which is the main verb, okay, and another which is the helping verb. Now, the main verb generally is the one that shows some kind of action. Okay, so all the action words that you can think of, they are your main verb. And helping verb, I had told you, or they are also known as auxiliary verbs. Okay, auxiliaries. Okay, one part of the helping verbs are known as auxiliary verbs. So what comes under auxiliary verbs? They are usually meant to help understand the action word. Okay, so understand the action word. So the helping verbs, which are the auxiliaries, what kind of verbs can they be? Usually the form of be verbs, okay, that we have already done when we did the tenses, okay, and when you have learned regarding tenses, is, have, all the forms of is like are, were, have is had, has, okay, so yes, that's it. Sometimes do or done, did can also be used, okay, to show. So these can be called auxiliaries, and there is another kind of helping verb that we can talk about, and that is modals. Okay. So how can we define modals? Now, modal verbs, they are a group of auxiliary verbs, definitely from auxiliaries itself. They are known as modals. Okay, they are a group of auxiliary verbs. Now, these are being verbs, these are doing verbs. Okay, and modals are a group of auxiliaries that are used to express a range of functions. So one thing you have to remember while you have to understand modal verbs is that they have a certain function. Okay, I hope I'm being able to make you understand. Okay, they have some sort of function. Now what these functions are, we will get to know. Now let me make this clear to you. Now the functions of ability, okay, where you have to express that this could be done, or you are able to do this, okay, or possibility, that's something that is possible. Okay, instead of writing that this is possible or there is a possibility, you use a verb in place of that expression. So we are going to learn about those verbs. Okay, possibility, there are once for permission. When you have to ask for permission, you use those kinds of verbs. Or obligation, if you're obligated to do something, or something is like a duty to you, so that is where you use those verbs in order to express these functions: ability, possibility, permission, and obligation. All right. At times it can also be used to express suggestion. Okay. Suggestion. So primarily these are the four abilities that we have to we have to focus on. Okay. And suggestion also at times we can use. I'll get to that. Or maybe a request, permission and request, it can be used in the same way. All right. Now this is what we did in order to make you understand or the definition of modals. All right. Now I'm going to go into detail about what modals really are. Okay, how is it classified, or is it classified? If yes, then what? Okay, so we're going to think about that and talk about that. Okay, so coming back to discussing in detail the modal verb. All right. Now there are two important classes of modals. All right. So the first class of modals, they are known as pure modals. Okay. And the second one is semi-modals. All right. So why semi-modals? Because they have the characteristics of verbs as well as modals. All right. Now verbs, we can call them modal verbs, but it better sounds as verbs. You know, if you have to differentiate between the two categories, let us just take them to be modals and the other to be verbs. Okay, but we can also call them modal verbs. Now semi-modals, just because they have the characteristics of verbs and the modals. Okay, verbs and the modals, therefore they are known as semi-modals. Okay, now what are these pure modals? Now the modal verbs that come under pure modals are can, okay, may, might. Okay, it is definitely there in your book, so you can just have a look at them while watching the video. Okay, so shall and every forms of shall, will and every forms of will. Okay, must, at times we also write had to. Okay, so these can be called as pure modals. Now semi-modals constitute of dare. Now they can be used as verbs also, therefore they are known as semi-modals. Okay, or to, used in a very formal setup in place of must, or to. If it is a very, it is an obligation, or you have to do it. It is most important, you can't just let go. It is a duty. So all moral duties you have to use ought to. So, and there you have need. Okay. So I'm going to basically explain in which situations do we use all these modal verbs in a bit. But before that, let me tell you, you must be wondering, how do we determine the meaning of the modal verb? How do we determine where do we use it or when do we use it? Now it is only determined, yes, let me just ask this pertinent question, is how do we determine? What triggers or what helps us in order to determine where do we use modals, or when can we use modals? Now basically the first thing that helps us to determine modals is the speaker. Now speaker in what way? Doing what? So however a speaker wishes to express manner, okay, the manner in which the speaker wishes to express, and in what situation. You know, I always tell you that grammar should be used, it should be determined based on the context. So everything is contextual. There might be rare cases where one thing is used for the other. This is completely contextual. So even it is for the modal verbs as well, that however the speaker wishes to express, and in what situation does he express, what is the context of what is he expressing. So that determines the function of the modal, and that determines which modal to be used and in what sense. Okay, and there can also be times where one modal verb is used for the other one. Okay, there might be very fine shades of differences, okay, in the meaning of the modal verbs, and many times the different verbs may be used in the same context. For example, for possibility, if I'm using a certain kind of modal verb, it can make the use of another modal verb in that situation, or it depends on the context. Okay, and depends on what the person is saying. Alright, so this is what one should depend upon and one should think about. So whenever you have to put it into a category as to what modal this is, what verb this is, you will always have to identify the context and then decide about the modal verb. Alright, so in your book you will find these set of sentences that explains the just now the rule that I talked about, that it should be contextual, that you should understand. If you have to determine the modal verbs, you have to understand the situation and how the speaker wishes to express himself. Okay, so you will be able to understand if you read through these sentences. Alright, now here you have the first one. Could you please be quiet? Must you talk all the time? Okay, now I'm going to check out the first two sentences, then go to the third and fourth one. Now sentence 1 over here and sentence 2, both of these sentences, they are actually talking about the same thing. The purpose is the same. They are actually identifying the person who's talking and rebuking. Okay, but what is the manner in which the speaker is behaving? Okay, how is the speaker rebuking? Is it with politeness? Is it with love? Or in some other manner? Let us see that. Now in sentence 1, we can all assume that the speaker is saying, could you please be quiet? Because the word please is being used. Could you please? So it shows somewhat a polite and formal way, okay, of asking someone to be quiet. But in sentence 2, if you see, the speaker is absolutely annoyed. Now this can be happening in two cases. If a child would have talked away constantly in class, maybe the first time the teacher would be very polite. The second time also she would be showing politeness. But the fourth time, fifth time, she might be really annoyed. Okay, and then she might express, or she might say, must you talk all the time? So then she definitely is annoyed. But both are different situations and different modal verbs have been used. First could is used and then must is used. And it shows, the second sentence, it shows that the speaker is annoyed. The sentence could be spoken by a person who is in some way superior to the listener. So the listener might not be listening, okay? And therefore the speaker, she has to show her superiority. She has to show that, okay, who's the boss here right now? So you need to listen, okay, in the class. So that's it. There is little politeness to it. Now the chances have been given, and then she takes back her chances, and then she rebukes the child harshly. Maybe this could be a situation. Okay. Now let us see the third and fourth sentences. Can you be quiet? Will you be quiet? So in sentence 3, this has a sarcastic tone. Can you be quiet? Can you be quiet? Okay, it is as if the speaker was throwing a challenge to the listener. saying that keeping quiet is impossible for the listener, for the child, impossible at all. But in sentence 4, you can just understand that there is annoyance and there is irritation in it. Will you be quiet? Like she's really angry. The speaker is really angry that the child might have not listened to her. Annoyance and authority. The speaker is almost ordering the listener, dismissing him in her anger. Now, another thing can be noted that the first two, they are in a very formal setup, okay? But will you be quiet? Usually in a formal setup, we don't use it in this way. Must you be quiet? Must you talk all the time? Okay? So, these are the many ways where a modal verb can be used. Okay? So, in a bit, we're going to learn about the use of the modal verbs and which are the functions that we have to take into consideration in order to express these verbs. Alright, so we'll move on to that. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the functions that are where the modal verbs can be used to express, the functions which are used in order to express with the help of the modal verbs. Okay, so there are 9 functions that you can do that can be taken into consideration. The first is possibility, okay, where you have to talk about the fact that it is possible, things that could be done. Ability, that somebody is able to do these things. Obligation and necessity, that it is very much needed to do. Alright, obligation, which is a duty, okay, obliged to do. Permission, you're taking permission from someone, then you can use the modal verbs. Prohibition, if you want to express that something should not be done, okay, prohibited, like I used just now, should not be done, or things like that. So prohibition. Advice, if you can take somebody is giving advice, so then in those times you can use a certain modal verb. Suggestions, alright, so you have to identify what context is it in. If it is a possibility, if it is an ability, so we can put this kind of a modal verb. Okay, if it is a request, if it is a resolve. Alright, now coming to the examples of the use of modal verbs. So how can, so the first modal verb, I'm not writing these down on the board, and you can just open your books along with it, so you can just read through, or as I'm reading through or as I am explaining it to you, you can definitely take the help of this. So can over here. Alright, the first modal verb that has been used is can. So at times it can express possibility, it can express ability, you can use it for permission or request. Okay, permission or request, not in a very formal way, but sort of, something between formal and informal. Then a suggestion. Now examples are also given. You can pass if you study, that is a possibility that, this is not an ability. The person is not showing any signs that he's able to pass. Okay, we are just saying that it's a possibility. Okay, it is possible that you can pass. Ability, he can play the violin, which he could do, something that he could do to express that. Can is used, which is ability. Permission or request, can I borrow your phone please? It is a request. So please, whenever you put, it's a request. Suggestion, can you shift down a bit? Can you just do it? It's a suggestion. So these are the ways you can use can as a modal verb. Okay, then you have could. Okay, now possibility regarding could. He could pass if he studied. Now could is used as a past tense, so it is used in the past context of can. Ability, in the past, 2 years ago I could run faster, at those times I could, now I can't, now it isn't possible, now there is no possibility, but I could. Okay, permission request, which is politely, could you please switch on the fan? So if you have to be polite, you will use could in place of can. So can is something I told you, it's between formal and informal, so you cannot use if you want to be formal. So if you want to be formal, you just have to say could. Suggestion, excuse me, could you give me some room? Again, polite. Could is for politeness. Okay, now moving on to shall. So it is always, you know this very well when we did tenses, that shall, will, these are all future tenses. Okay, we always use them in future contexts. So future action, I shall go to France this holiday. You use it with a main verb when you have to show some sort of action. Okay, so it's usually in the first person. We seldom use you shall or they shall. Okay, we shall. We shall is the first person, obviously. You shall, he shall. We usually don't use them. Okay, we seldom use them. Future resolve means something that a resolution will come about, something that will be solved later on in the future. When you have to express it in the present, then you use shall. The prisoner shall go home tomorrow. That he's supposed to go home, it has not arrived yet. That moment has not arrived yet, but it will happen later, tomorrow. So then prisoner shall go home. Suggestions, shall we dance? Okay, offer. Suggestion which mostly looks like an offer. Okay, so shall we dance? Then should. Possibly, definitely you can understand it is the past counterpart of shall. Okay, possibly, possibility or likelihood. Likelihood meaning on a positive side. They should win this game easily. I mean, we are hoping for that. We are being positive about it, that they should win this game easily. So therefore, they should. Okay, we use should. Then advice. You should start preparing for your exams. Definitely, in advice, you will always have to take should. So we don't use you shall, we say you should. Okay. Then will. Will is also used for future action. You know this very well when we did the tenses, when you had done the tenses. You certainly didn't do that with me, but yes, you did them. I did a few, it was in class 7. I will visit you tomorrow. Okay, that will be a future action. Again, it is used with a main verb. Okay, main. So you would see the modals, they are mostly used with main verbs as well. It's not that they, you know, in the true manner that they are auxiliaries, that they are helping verbs. It also comes out in that way. It is also expressed in that way. They are used with main verbs. Okay, always. So resolve. We will win this game. That is a promise. Okay, we will win. So we have taken a resolution that we are going to win, are going to win, or will win. Okay, then that is the place where we use will. So would also can mean future action. That is the past tense of will. I thought I would be late, so I left early. Okay, you're talking about expressing that you have thought about something. Okay, that thought about, you know, what would you do in the future. So therefore, whatever you thought, you are expressing it in the present. Okay, whatever you did in the past, you're expressing it in the present. So then that is what we use would for. Hypothesis. Hypothesis is what now? Something which you can term as assumption. Okay, so this happened. Would you please tell? No, I would give you the money if I had any. So there is a condition, an assumption. I would have given if I had it. It's because I don't have, I cannot. Okay, so I would have if he had it. So if that was the situation, then this would have done. It's a hypothesis. Okay, it's a sort of an assumption, but only given with conditions. So that is hypothetically speaking, we say, right? So that is it. Polite request. Would you please tell me the time? Politely you are asking, please, would you please tell me the time? Okay. Now then we have may. Now moving on to may. Possibility. It may rain tomorrow. Alright. It's a possibility, it's a positive possibility, it may rain tomorrow. Formal permission. Formal. May I go to the washroom? May I leave the room now? May we go? Okay, that you ask your teacher. Most of you don't when you have to go to the washroom. Ma'am, nobody says, ma'am, I want to go to the washroom. That's what you say in class. But the manner in which you should ask. So, may I? So now, children, while learning modal verbs, one thing you can also learn about is how to speak politely. Okay, these etiquettes, manners, you know, something that you can learn about and use it in your daily schedule. This is why we are teaching modal verbs so that you can make, or any such grammar chapter for that matter. we teach you so that you can use them in your daily conversations, you know, when you speak in English, and when you have to speak it properly, right? So definitely try to use this. So formal permission, may I leave the room now? Then might, a possibility of the past. He said it might rain the next day. He said it might rain. So usually it means negative or okay. So might, possibly, might. So that is the past of may. A suggestion, might I recommend Hilton an excellent hotel? So when you have to suggest using might, okay, at times you can also use shall I recommend Hilton. Might I means you actually don't want to completely, you're not sure, you're not certain if the person is going to take that suggestion, okay. So you want to just pitch in and help the person out if need be, if need arises. So there is a sort of hesitance, you know, in that way. Speculation, you're speculating about something, you're thinking about something, you know, oh, this can happen, that can happen. He might go to America next week, you're not sure, so you're speculating. Alright, might go to America next week. Then moving on to must, which is a strong necessity, okay. You must complete the work now. It is definitely important, you must. And must not, prohibition, you must not tease the animals, okay, it's a prohibition. You're forbidding somebody to do a thing, so must not. Whichever thing is, whichever act is not supposed to be done, immoral, or it's not good, that is when we use must not. Had to, okay, though had to is a auxiliary, it can also be used as a modal verb with the word, with the preposition to. Necessity or obligation, that is in the past. He had to leave his apartment when he couldn't afford to pay the rent, okay, had to leave. So that's it. Dare. Now coming to the, you know, the semi-modals. Dare. Okay, we already had started with had, okay, no. Yes, coming to the semi-modals now. Dare. It's a warning. Dare anyone go there. No one dare go there. Okay, it's a warning or admonition. So admonition meaning you are, it is like a warning, okay. It's a statutory, okay. So that's what. So need, necessity. Need is always used for necessity. Necessity and need, they mean the same thing, you know, necessary, which is needed. He need only ask and I will tell him. No one need think that their jobs are at risk. Okay, he need only ask. If he needs it, he can ask. No one need think, no one needs to think. So we are not using the word to, dare to, don't dare to go there. For dare and need, the to is actually silent. Okay, dare anyone go there. No one needs to think. We are not saying it in this way. We are saying no one need think. So that is how you can use it. It's grammatically correct, absolutely. The to is omitted. Okay. Then the last but not the least, and equally important, ought to. So it means duty, it means necessity, it means moral obligation, not as forceful as must, but stronger than should. You know, you should understand these nuances. See, must is like forceful. You have to do it, so it is. This is what should be done. Yes, okay. Nothing else other than this. But it is stronger than should. So if you put that in degree, at the lowest bottom, at the bottom, it should be should. Then it should be ought to, and then must. You ought to apologize to your wife. You ought to be more punctual. So usually we talk them regarding moral duties and everything else. Alright. So with this we are done with the examples of the use of modal verbs, and we shall move to negated modal verbs and contraction. Okay. Okay. So as discussed, we are going to move on to the negated modal verbs and contraction. Okay. Contraction meaning how they are shortened, which are the shortened forms that we can use, and shortened forms of the negative expression, okay, of the modal verbs. Now it has been very clearly mentioned in the table. I'll just read through it and I'm not going to write on the board. I'm just going to summarize what comes after this part, okay, negated modal verbs. Alright, now the first one that you have can, its negation is cannot. You can use it in a shortened manner as can't. Okay, so could is used as its negation is could not. and its contraction is couldn't. Shall not, shan't. Okay, shan't. Okay, now this, let me tell you, is not something that is used nowadays. It is just out of usage. It was very much formal, and it used to be used in, you know, official settings, and not very informal with people of a high, you know, esteemed people. They used to, that in those times, in the previous time, the language was so very esteemed, highly thought of it. So it highly thought of. So those times shan't used to be was used, sorry. But nowadays we don't really get that, you know. Even shall is not used much, okay, nowadays. Should is used, should not, and the contraction shouldn't, will not, won't. Would not, wouldn't. May not. It doesn't have any, mayn't. You can't say that in that way. It doesn't have a contraction. You have to write may not. Might in the same manner, might not. There's no mightn't. Okay, it sounds very sounds absolutely incorrect. Must not, mustn't. Dare not. We don't have a daren't. Need not, need to, needn't. Yes, needn't, you definitely can say that way. Ought to, ought not to, oughtn't to, oughtn't to. But however, you don't use that oughtn't to that much. You really use ought not to. Sounds better. And whatever sounds correct, we always try to go to that. Okay, grammatically correct and syntactically correct, grammatically correct. That is what we actually focus on. So that is what. Now these negative forms of the modal verbs may, might and dare, I've already said you do not have the shortened forms. Now moving on to characterization or characteristics of the modal verbs. Okay, what are the features of these modal verbs that we have just now learned? They are not affected by the number of persons of the subject. So all these times where tenses took into consideration, or verbs took into consideration the persons, the singular, plural, number of persons, modals have got nothing to do with it. It's just the same with singular, it's just the same with plurals. It does not change their form. Okay, so the first one is number of persons not affected. Okay, number of persons are not affected. So she can play the piano, you can play the piano, I can sing, we can put up a great show. Okay, they may go, we may go. So you can use it with the singular subject as well as the plural subject. Okay, then the next one will be that you have, they do not have infinitive participle forms. You cannot use them with to. For example, with action words, you always used them with to in order to bring about its infinitive, right? To bring, to go, to swim, to dance, to sing. So that was the infinitive. And participle also. Alright. Okay. For example, broken. Broken, taken, kept. These are all the participle forms. Past, obviously, but the participle also, if you check, you'll find these there. Now these have a past form. Some of them, they do have a past form, but they don't have a participle or an infinitive, okay, with it. He can solve any problem you bring to him. Okay, so that is what we can be sure of. No infinitives, no infinitive or participle. Okay, so these are the things that you should remember, and do not make mistakes with these. Then number 3 will be, they can form interrogative sentences by inversion. Okay, so how the inversion will work, I'll explain. So let me just write it down. Interrogatives can be formed, interrogative sentences they might have. With inversion. Now this is a rule that could also be used with tenses. Okay, so with inversion, for example, we should first meet the class teacher. Should we? It changes to should we. We should changes to should we. In the same manner, was he going to the market? He was going to the market. So it's the same as that. Should we first meet the class teacher? Okay, that is your inversion and interrogative sentence also formed. So the modal verb is going to go to the, it will be used first in the interrogative sentence. Alright, now they have a broad range of shades of meaning. It can also be used for many other things, not only possibilities, abilities. If you check the page 46 of your grammar tree, you can definitely find it can be used in disbelief, and the modal verb used is can. That can't be. Okay, it's disbelief. That can't happen. Speculation, I've already said. Who could it be at this late hour? You're speculating. So it's always the context, the situation, and how the speaker is expressing the thought, okay, behind it. So that will be taken into consideration once you work for your modals. Might, to express suggestion as well. Not only possibility but suggestion. Okay, you might have gone to the doctor, you might have gone to the doctor, you might have done that, you might have done this, you might have studied for another hour. Okay, must, to express polite firmness. Now if you want to be firm but polite as well, you and your friend must come. We are giving a party on next Saturday. You and your friend must come. Okay, so that will be all regarding your modals, the characteristics of modals. And now we can use I talk about modal verbs and tenses. Now let's see what do we have in here. Modal auxiliaries do not have different forms in different tenses. They are past, present and future it does not have such differences. They do not have such different forms other than their usual form. Now, might, I said, can also be like a possibility in the past for may, but it can also used for reference to the future. She might visit her grandmother next weekend. All right, so future possibility also you are using might as well as past. Okay, she might have gone to visit her grandmother. Okay, then they could not buy tickets for the show. It is also reference to the past. Okay, could not buy, a past. Okay, they could do, not only an ability, but you're just stating that they could not do it. Okay, it means some sort of ability though. The vase can tip over and fall any moment. This is also a reference to the future. Alright, see, can, it's not only present, it can also be used for future. I would like to show you an around when you visit. Would, I said that it's the past form of will, but it can also used for future reference. I would like to show you around. Okay, so that's it. He should have said goodbye to her before leaving. So reference to the past as well. Should also used for shall, past for shall. So he should have said goodbye. He should have not only suggesting, okay, suggestion or advice, but also it's referring to the past. Okay, so with this we have come to the end of our chapter and we are complete with it. Okay, so please watch the video everybody, and do not come to class without watching this. And a worksheet will also go along with the video. It will be uploaded on LSA Live. Please check that out, and please I would ask you to work it. It will be based on the grammar tree itself, the worksheet. So work it out in the book itself. All right. So thank you children for being a great audience.